Hello there. The excess coincidences we see every week now remain stubbornly high. UK excess deaths for the week ending the 26th of May ran at 9.4% above the rolling 5-year average, reports the ONS. When inflation hits 10%, we have the government continually saying they'll halve it and the opposition screech on about people suffering in a Tory cost of living crisis. But with UK excess deaths stubbornly high month after month after month, not a peep. None of the Westminster blobsters gives a single hoot about those that have left us early or their families. No demands from them for an inquiry, no one seeking clarification, and no one in the mainstream press asking any questions. While a few of us try to prod the Westminster blancmange into action, but it just sits there wobbling a bit. And let's take a look at some more of the figures out today. Excess deaths in private homes was at 17.3% above the 5-year rolling average. In hospitals it was 6.3% above, and 6.7% in care homes. In England the excess was 9.2% and in Wales it was 7%. Between them, that's an excess of 1,021 real people in England and Wales who have passed away in a week. Now, the Office for National Statistics is a state body that collates and analyses data, and it does this for a reason, for a purpose. It doesn't have loads of analysts working to produce these reports and spreadsheets merely for some sort of artistic purpose. They don't sit there choosing data at random in order to produce haphazard reports on a whim. Much work across government goes into deciding what data will be used and what regular, long-term reports will be issued. All designed to highlight worrying trends like excess deaths. And that no one within the blob is even batting an eyelid at this is staggering. And anyone who does raise their head above the parapet is shunned by their fellows in Westminster and basically shuffled out of the door, or at least out of their party. The case in point being Andrew Bridgen. And they've been trying to marginalise him and this information ever since. They are intent on stopping anyone talking about this. But why? What have they got to hide? And you may have missed it, but a few days ago, the Mail was running with a story about 2 Oxford University experts who accused the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, the MHRA, of disturbing obfuscation regarding deaths from a certain recent medical procedure. And they branded one of the systems used to collate related side effects as a mess. Professor Carl Hennigan and Dr. Tom Jefferson questioned why there was no data to be found from the MHRA spending £2 million on an AI programme to sort it out. And further, that trial data was still confidential and awaiting a final decision for release. What are we to make of all this? They asked on their blog. Contradictions galore and the absence of a gizmo to identify deaths. Yes, deaths, not arcane events. Obfuscation and fragmentation sounds like a Cold War thriller. But we are the players and recipients of the products licensed by MHRA. Where is the taxpayers' money gone, our money, if they have to manually collate reports? And where are at least the late summary reports? What final decision is the MHRA referring to? One does have to wonder whether anyone's got a handle on any of this, and maybe that's the real issue. Although I'm sure that if the government and or the opposition wanted this data, that it would be sorted pretty damn quickly. Anyway, the blobsters are hoping that people will tire of hearing about these excesses, that people like you will tire of hearing and reading about it and lose interest, so forcing people like me to give up talking about it. That is how they play the people, hide everything in plain sight, like an ONS report on a website, but not allow people to discuss or question it, and get people used to that insidious process all the while. 1984 writ large and real, when what the government should be doing is using the data to protect the people by analysing it and asking pertinent questions and putting policies in place, and then making sure it never happens again. But it seems that 99% of our politicians just want an easy paycheck every month and no difficult questions, and definitely none of the blame. Well, US regulators have stepped in and accused the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, of a web of deception. Now, is this another crypto exchange up to dodginess, or a concerted attack on Bitcoin as establishment plans for central bank digital currencies hot up? Is it dodgy dealing, or an establishment running scared of a competitor that could upset their plans for total control? We've already seen the collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX and the call by UK MPs to have dealing in Bitcoin classified as gambling. Anyway, the US Securities and Exchange Commission has filed 13 charges against Binance and its founder, Changpeng Zhao. The SEC chair, Gary Gensler, said, "Through 13 charges, we allege that Zhao and Binance entities engaged in an extensive web of deception, conflicts of interest, lack of disclosure, and calculated evasion of the law." With the SEC press release saying, charges include operating unregistered exchanges, broker-dealers and clearing agencies, misrepresenting trading controls and oversight on the Binance.US platform, and the unregistered offer and sale of securities. And Gerber S. Gruel, the director of the SEC's Division of Enforcement, said, "We allege that Zhao and the Binance entities not only knew the rules of the road, but they also consciously chose to evade them and put their customers and investors at risk, all in an effort to maximise their own profits." And some of the charges levelled also relate to BAM trading. The SEC also says that further, the complaint alleges that the defendants concealed the fact that it was co-mingling billions of dollars of investor assets and sending them to a third party, Merit Peak Limited, that is also owned by Zhao. The result has been that investors have pulled 628 million quid out of Binance over the last 24 hours, but only knocking the price by a few percent. However, whether for good or bad, it looks like crypto is in the process of being captured by the blob.